Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to Night Talk with Teresa. I'm your girl Teresa. Hope you're all having a wonderful Tuesday. Happy Valentine's Day. I really don't care about Valentine's Day because if you love somebody, you're supposed to love them every day, not just one day. And they make the prices for flowers and everything else off the chain. So I don't believe in that stuff, but it is what it is. Um, Let's see. Last week I was out of town, went to Vegas. Exhausting, but had a good time. Learned a lot. That's the main thing. So glad to be back. Glad to be back to my lovely warm weather. So, tonight we are talking about the book that I was working on, which is called Attitude is Everything by Keith Harrell. And tonight we're going to focus on the first chapter, which is understanding, of course, the power of attitude. So, a lot of times we don't realize what our attitude can do. This man, he was talking about how he played basketball all through high school, all through college. He was expecting to be drafted into the NBA. He actually listened, the night they were doing the NBA draft. He was sitting by the phone waiting, and he never got the call. He was devastated because he had been All-American all majority of his life and everything, and he just knew that he was going to the NBA, but it didn't happen. So it devastated him. It devastated him completely. So, what he did was he moved to Alaska, and because he lived in Seattle, but he moved to Alaska with his aunt. And while he was there, he was an apprentice to a person who was a painter. And so while he was there, he couldn't paint worth a shit, but he wanted something to be successful. He wanted to make it in Alaska because he didn't want to stay in Seattle because he felt like everybody was looking at him and calling him a failure. So he went on to Alaska. He couldn't paint either. So what they did was they had him set up everything for the painting. And while he was doing that, one of the guys that was in Alaska now, remember I said he lived in Seattle and he moved to Alaska to be with his aunt and try a new life there. And one of the guys there actually came up to him and said, "I'm disappointed in you. You were a fine basketball player and a good student from what I read. It looks to me like you've given up. Looks like you're just sitting here taking the easy route." And when that man told him that, it shocked him, and he realized, you know what? He's actually right. I let one negative thing affect me, and I gave up. So he decided to go back to Seattle. And when he went back to Seattle, he said, "I'm going to get a job. I'm going to prove to everybody that I can make it. I can make it." So back then, I guess, IBM was a huge company to try and get on. And it was so hard to get on there. But they weren't hiring when he got there. But he knew he wanted to prep so he would be ready when they were going to hire. So he found out that his cousin, who used to play basketball, was working there. So he asked him to help him to get him ready. So his cousin said, "Sure, I'll help you do what you need." So the first day he told him, "Come on over and act like, I'm going to get you ready for an interview." So when he came over, he wasn't dressed for an interview. So his cousin said, "Nope, turn around, go home." So when he turned around to go home, he was like, "Wait, I've never had a relative tell me that I got to turn around and go home." So he did it, and then he came back, and he worked him so hard in the days and weeks that followed. He taught him a lot about maintaining a proper business attitude. He made him work on his communication and language skills. He cut the streets out of his vocabulary. He told him there is a difference in how you talk to an IBM customer and how you talk to your buddy who owns the gas station. So he worked him, worked him, worked him. And then one day, his cousin brought in a friend who was an assistant to the regional manager for IBM. He interviewed him. He said he liked his confidence and his positive attitude. Then he did some fine tuning with him and on his interviewing skills and told him he'd meet with him again in 2 weeks to see if he'd improve. So in 2 weeks, he did it, and he was great. So finally, he was able to get an interview with IBM. And when he sat down to do the interview, the guy said, "You didn't take any business courses in college. What makes you feel like you're qualified to come to work for IBM? What makes you qualified for a business like ours?" So the guy said, "I spent 4 years in college. I graduated on time. I majored in community service. It taught me how to deal with all kinds of people and how to build and manage relationships. He's taught how to understand relationships, and he felt like he understood relationships better than anybody does. As far as the business thing, he says he has a great attitude. He can learn the business skills. He started on the senior varsity basketball team all 4 years in college, which proves he's a hard worker. He was a team captain, which demonstrated leadership abilities, and he knew about preparation and competition. He can handle anything that IBM asked him to do." So the guy was like, okay. So I'm going to ask you this. How would you sell me this pencil? And the guy said, "Before I sell you anything, let me take the time to understand exactly what your needs are, because I want to sell you what you need, not what you think you need. So let me ask you a few questions." And he threw it out there, and that guy said, "You are hired." So he turned that around completely, because he realized that in order to have a good job like that, you have to show, no matter what, I can do it. So let me flip it on you instead of you flipping it on me. So he turned all that negativity into positive. So a lot of people don't realize that it is absolutely crucial that whatever you do, you should do it with all your might. You got to go for it. You got to be the best that you can be in everything. Not that you don't compare yourself to the person next door. Be the best that you can be. And stop letting negativity all like, woe is me, I can't lift that 25 pounds. No, I may not be able to lift it today, but I'm going to lift it next week, week after, whatever. Don't ever think that you have to be negative. But you have to realize that your ability may be much higher than you realize. So it still comes back to attitude is everything, because it is involved in everything. It impacts our performance at work and at home and our relationships. Attitude is the cornerstone upon which we build our lives. Your attitude also detects whether you are living life or life is living you. So whether you're on your way in or whether you're on your way out, you control that, because you control your attitude. Nobody else can control your attitude. They may try, but you have to be the one who says, nope, not today, not today. So your attitude is nothing but an outward reflection of what resides on the inside. To change your attitude, you got to change your heart, okay? So one thing that he said was ear gate, eye gate, and mouth gate, okay? And what he meant was what we see through our eye gate goes directly into our hearts, frequently having a profound effect on our state of mind, sense of well-being, and our attitude. Likewise, what we hear through our ear gate has power to lift us up or drag us down. And lastly, the mouth gate speaks to the heart-mouth connection. As the proverb says, out of the issues of your heart, your mouth speaks. Our words have a tremendous impact on our attitude and the attitude of those around us. Sometimes I find myself being negative and I just say, whoa, I need to step back. Because today I was kind of negative, and I said, you know what, I need to read this book because it could always be worse. Things could always be worse. So, and I say that because it's the truth. Let's see. So, let me see what else he talked about here. There's that. Our attitude affects everything that we do, which is true. It's also true that those with positive attitudes generally enjoy better overall health. Positive thinking takes hold of our mind, our body, and our body will respond accordingly. So if you're negative all the time, woe is me, blah, 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 you're probably going to be sick a lot, or you're going to have issues. But researchers have shown that the simple act of smiling causes your brain to release a stream of chemicals that makes you feel good. So the endorphins that you create when you smile are natural painkillers. No one would know. I cut my finger the other day, and I mean, it was bad, but it hurt. It hurt like hell. So what I did was I laughed. I laughed it off. I was like, oh, look at that. It's bleeding through 2 Band-Aids. It's going to be all right. And that's what I did. I laughed. But your attitude reflects you. And so many people, they may not remember you, but they will remember your attitude. Were you positive? Were you negative? So you want to remember that. What happens to us influences what goes on within us. Unless we master a process for taking control of our attitudes to maintain a positive approach to life, even when negative events occur. So for me, I have not worked out. I used to work out every day. Well, not every day. At least 5 days a week. Last week I didn't work out because I was in Vegas. I've been back, came back Friday. No, it was Saturday morning. I came back early Saturday morning. I haven't exercised. Yet. But tomorrow, that's my goal. I've been busy since I've been back. I cannot let that reflect what my goals are. I can't say, oh, what was me? I can't say that I put some weight back on and I really got to get that focused, but I'm not going to be negative about it. I feel great. I just got to get my body back because Vegas is 3 hours behind, so trying to catch up again is hard, but I'm going to do what I got to do. I got to keep that positive attitude. And some people say when I say it is what it is, don't look at it from a negative perspective. I say it is what it is because I want to keep going. Don't let it reflect on nothing. Let me just keep it moving, keep it going. And so that's how I work. So the next thing is what happens to you does not have to live within you. Even bad circumstances can serve as stepping stones to your goal. Every one of us endures hardships that can bring out the worst in us or inspire the best. It all comes down to which attitude you choose. Okay? So for me, I'm trying really, really, really hard to stay away from negativity. I've got to. Okay? We have a choice. We can concentrate on problems or we can focus on solutions. I want to focus on solutions. I don't want to focus on problems. Okay? So there are 4 steps that he has in this book. Again, here we go. The first one is focus on handling stress. The less stress you feel, the more energy you'll have to exercise those positive thinking muscles. Even though eliminating all stress from our life is an unrealistic goal. We all know that. But you can add energy levels by leading a more balanced life. If your work is stressful, Look for ways to balance the time you spend at work with non-stressful leisure time. Some of us may need to devote a larger percentage of our time to work to keep that balance. So you have to figure out what you need to do to help release some of that stress. Okay? If you're facing specific challenges, whether being a caregiver to an elderly parent, being a single parent, or simply feeling lonely, seek out support groups. Do whatever you got to do to keep yourself positive. The second thing, identify your negative, pessimistic thoughts. Like, for example, I'll never be able to finish the project. I'm not good enough to apply for this promotion. As long as you say things like that, you're not good enough for the promotion. You're not good enough for anything. So don't let up on defeating those negative thoughts. The more you fight them with facts and rational thinking, the more positive muscle you're building. So one thing that I like to say for me is when somebody says, oh, she can't do that. She can't do that. Don't say it to me, because I'm one of them people that says, watch me. So that's one thing. All right. Number 3, tell a supportive person how you feel. Don't keep things bottled up, because we know how that can be. You might be hurting yourself by bottling up. Tell somebody. Tell them what's going on, and you may not like what they have to say, but just say, I need to vent, I need to let this out, and then I'm gonna get back to my positive self. That is fine, but don't let it fester. Okay, don't let it stay there. All right, and then the 4th thing is act to settle a problem. If you're stressed by a conflict with a coworker, deal with the situation directly. Like, say, I know we disagree on how to implement this project. Would you be willing to work it out with me? Or if a friend says or does something that hurts your feelings, tell him or her. Don't sit back and say, man, that really hurt my feelings. No, tell him. But, don't say it in a way that says, man, fuck you, you hurt my feelings. No, just say, can we talk about what just happened? Because I feel like it hurt my feelings, and I just want to let you know how that made me feel. Say something to that effect. So just remember, attitude affects everything that we do, both personally and professionally. So work on fixing your attitude, and things will change. Things will be better. So that's my talk for tonight. Next week we'll talk about attitude is a choice. That's chapter 2. So if you want to go ahead and read up before I do it, again, the book is called Attitude is Everything, 10 Life-Changing Steps to Turning Attitude into Action, and it's by Keith Harrell. But I'm working on my attitude because it needs to be better. Nobody's perfect. I need to fix it, and I'm going to fix it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right, so that's me. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next week, because I don't plan on going out of town or anything. So have a great night, and again, happy Valentine's Day. Poo on that, but thank you and good night.